of migrating 2005 database straight to the cloud to Azure SQL Database. I'm connected right now to my demo environment, where now I'm going to migrate the database of VentureWorks from the SQL 2005 into my Azure SQL Database server in the cloud. This testDB server is the one that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the migration wizard included on Management Studio. You can see I'm just picking Deploy Database to Windows Azure SQL Database. And at this point, that's going to open up the wizard that will walk us through the steps. So first of all, I'm going to connect to my Azure SQL Database server in the cloud. I've already entered my credentials first. I can pick the database name. Then I have to pick the edition of the database. Now there's two editions that are there for legacy purpose. That's business and web. And the basic, standard, or premium are the current service level tier-based editions. In this case, the recommendation is to start with a standard, which is usually the one that is more considered the beginning of production. At this point, I can pick a size up to 250 gigabytes, which is the limit for standard. And then I can also pick a service objective. This is basically a measurement of performance. So we have S0, S1, S2. S0 will be less performant than S1, and S2 will be the maximum performance compared to the other ones. Then we also have to pick a local folder where the database is going to be extracted to. Now notice that it's not a backup that gets generated like a full binary .bak backup, but instead it's a backpack file. This is because direct restore to Azure SQL Database is not the way that this gets migrated. This gets applied through a backpack that will create the schema and then flow the data locally from the machine, in this case a VM, into Azure SQL Database. We can go next and then confirm all the details of what we have selected. And if we're okay with the tier, the size, the service objective, and our local space, then we can go ahead and click Finish. At this point, the wizard is going to export the database and create that backpack file. Then it's going to start processing all the different tables and moving the data into Azure SQL Database until the entire process has completed. At this point, you can review all the different steps and see if there was any issue or if everything is reporting success. Since my migration has been completed, I can now go in and start a new query and verify that the VentureWorks database was migrated correctly. So I'm going to start a new query against my testDB's Azure SQL Database server. Once I'm there, I'm going to change the connection and I'm going to pick the VentureWorks database. So I'm just going to change connection. I pick options and then I pick the connection to database. And I'm just going to type in VentureWorks in this case and hit connect. So we can see the connection goes through, so the database is there. It was migrated. We can do a quick test to see the version, for example, reported in the cloud. And we can see that correctly I get reported that the new version is Microsoft SQL Azure, and it's the version 12, which is the latest version of the Azure SQL Database deployed in the cloud. Okay, so we can see it there, Microsoft SQL Azure RTM version. Now at this point as well, I can just go in and do any type of query against my VentureWorks data to verify that it's all there. I could do some type of count verifying, for example. But in this case, I'm just going to show you guys for completeness, all my data is there. For example, this employee table, everything is there. Now, the nice thing about this is that now that I'm in the cloud, I can take advantage of all the other things that the cloud has to offer. So I'm going to go into the portal and I'm going to locate my VentureWorks database, which now I can manage through the portal. So I can do a quick search here for VentureWorks. And it's going to go and search in all my resources and find the VentureWorks database that I now have in my East US location in the cloud. I can click on it and get the details for it. And like I said, now I can treat it as a cloud database and get all the advantages of a cloud database. For example, if I wanted to scale up my database now from standard to a higher tier, I could use, for example, one of the premium tiers and scale it all the way to 500 gigabytes. or if necessary, I could even go even higher in performance and scale to the maximum P11 size, which is up to 1 terabyte. And again, all this would happen online thanks to the easiness of use of having a cloud database. Another good use case for the clouds, for example, is how easy it is to set up disaster recovery. Maybe on premises it would have taken quite a project to set up a disaster recovery site, but in the cloud I can just go into georeplication and then pick a region where I want to georeplicate this database. In this case it's recommending West US, so we'll just select that one. You don't have to, by the way, you can pick other regions. And I'm just gonna go here, verify the settings, and pick create. And that's pretty much all I need to do. At this point, Azure is going to take over the deployment and is going to initialize the database in the West US region. After it has been initialized, it will start sending all the data over and then start the syncing process. Once this has finished, we can see that we get a message saying that the secondary database has been created, and just like that, now we have a disaster recovery with our database syncing from the East US region to the West US region. Now this ease of having DR is something that is very, very hard to achieve on the same amount of speed and ease of use as we can do it here in the cloud. And finally, there's other features like the new security audit and threat detection, dynamic data masking, transparent data encryption, all these features that were not available in SQL 2005. Immediately you get them available in the cloud, ready to use.